really steal too much of the outside either. And quite a long run down to the line, and Hulkenberg on a 34.4. I'm expecting the times to be well into the 133s, I would have thought, in this session, now that they turn the wick up. And
Q3. Brilliant, and we'll speak to you again at the start of Q2. Thanks ever so much, Eric. Live with us throughout the weekend on Sky Sports F1 HD, live from the Lotus pit wall. We can ride on board and are riding on board with Daniel Ricciardo. You see the Toro Rosso on the hard compound tyre. It's interesting, isn't it, that the Williams drivers, as well as Charles Pic and Jules Bianchi, straight onto the medium compound tyre. Toro Rosso obviously think they've got enough pace along the back straight, a corner that you don't want to take too many liberties with. Felt a bit tentative to me as he made his entrance into that first of the right-handers.
He was braking extremely late, about 70 metres before the corner. Grosjean goes P2 with that on a 33.4, just a fraction behind Rosberg, as you can see on the top left of your screen. But I have to say, I thought his entry...
In the replay, that little lock up there, it's Raikkonen, yeah, through the first corner. Carrying far too much speed, and that's easily done. 198 or so miles an hour.
Well, that puts him under pressure now, doesn't it? Now he's got to take another lap to... How's his lap been so far?
Not too bad. Crosses the line now, second and a half off the pace. Didn't have any more time in those tyres. Stays 10th fastest. Jenson Button also onto the medium compound straight away.
He'll have to go onto the softs then, onto the medium.
It compares then to Mark Webber. We on board now with the Red Bull driver.
He's got a tyre slightly out of balance, or he's already flat spotted it or something. A movement going on there on the steering wheel.
And they've been fighting the cars at the top of this hill with the wind direction throughout most of this weekend, and Mark Webber going a little wider than he would have wanted on this occasion as well.
One corner to go then.
Time of Alonso's you mentioned, Martin. First sub 1 minute 33 time of the weekend so far. And Webber goes 7th fastest with a 1:33.9
on those tyres. What's that all about?
Yeah, quite
tidy enough. So we're on board with Webber then. And does this explain it's... Well, we saw this bit, didn't we? It's the final sector of the lap.
You thought there were problems even before that.
Well, he was 3/10 down in the first sector to Vettel. His first sector's, well, it's on an in-lap at the moment, so we can't see.
Locking up Nico Hulkenberg at turn 11.
Yeah, the Hulk's had a pretty scruffy quali so far.
Close battle between Caterham and Marussia. You've got Pic ahead of Bianchi and Chilton, and then Van der Gaard behind Chilton at the moment, with something trailing around in his cockpit that he wasn't overly happy with. Second lap for Lewis Hamilton, much better, 1:33.4, so 6/10 off the pace behind Grosjean. The day here in Bahrain looks on from the garage. Ricciardo going well enough to get himself out of the bottom 6. If he does that, pushes Gutierrez into the equation, pushes Maldonado and Bottas into the equation as well. Decent final corner from Ricciardo. Remember, was 6th on the grid this time last year in the Toro Rosso, and had a great race in China last week. Goes 12th fastest over. You said his teammate's lap looked a little bit scruffy, and he's got experience, and he's a former pole sitter. And Gutierrez struggling by 7/10 of a second more, and that's the...
Move forward with these tricky suspensions.
How did it go?
Okay, the lap was good. Just missed by 1/10 from Bianchi, but you got Chilton. Good job.
Unfortunately, 9/10 slower than his teammate, though, for Van der Gaard. But yeah, I was saying about Williams, you know, they have got that hydraulic kind of suspension that the front-running cars appear to be using very effectively to manage their
more. And that is what cost Maldonado same time as his teammate, but that little mistake there means that after setting it after Bottas, he's out and the finish through.
Yeah, a disappointing performance that by Pastor Maldonado. Well, both of the Williams, though, same time, as you're saying. Bottas out earlier, which is why he's gone through into Q2. I suppose it's a state where the car's at.
The hill.
Tail endy now. Yeah. Used tyres, of course, that they went out on, David. So definitely back end of the car wandering around a little bit. Let's see what happens when he launches it in to the final corner. This little right-hander here is also a corner officially, but doesn't seem to show up much in the throttle trace, I'd imagine. It's absolutely flat out. And again, half-second quicker than his teammate in a very similar situation. Low 1 minute 33, so we...
But this has been, as you say, Martin, a very rapid lap indeed. Goes fastest overall by nearly just over 1/10 of a second from Sebastian Vettel. There's no secret. I just wonder as well, Martin, we've seen him lock up, we've seen an error there on that lap. He knows he's got a good chance of being on the front row, maybe being on pole today. Is he impervious to pressure? Or is it actually...
Normally.
Yeah, but it
Normally,
gets serious,
but that
doesn't
looked
it?
a bit ragged. It didn't work out, did it, for him? With
Play Massa and Nico Hülkenberg rather getting tangled and crossed up there. Massa trying to move out of Hülkenberg's way, but I think the German was on the scene a bit quicker than he thought. See, look there, he's trying to get off the racing line, Martin, but he's doing it too late.
I have a feeling Hülkenberg was on an in-lap, so I don't think he'll be able to claim that. That's cost him pace, but I'm sure the stewards will have a look at it. And now this
This
is
as well.
very unfair. That's a very unfair place to park your car, because the other driver just does one out on a brand new set of mediums. Mark Webber then, of course, with a penalty for that contact last weekend against Jean-Eric Vergne. Nico Rosberg then has been fastest overall.
Super lap.
32.8. Pulled that one out of nowhere, didn't he?
Yeah, didn't he just? Matches really to within 1/100th of a second. Sutil's done a 29.8 for his first sector. Was actually on a par with the likes of Jenson Button and Nico Hülkenberg as well. Guys that are just immediately below him. Checkered flag is now out. This is the final lap as we see Sutil half a second off the pace at the end of the first two sectors, but he's, I think, just fighting as he's now actually out of, as Ricciardo goes 9th, out of the top 10. He's fighting for a Q3 appearance here, and he's right on the limit of it. Down the main straight goes Sutil, goes 6th fastest overall, picked up an awful lot of pace in the final sector. But who's behind? He was 12th fastest, Daniel Ricciardo, Nico Hülkenberg, Valtteri Bottas also out, and Grosjean, who had one lap to do it in and didn't.
Yeah, Ted was telling me he got...
For Jenson Button for scraping into Q3. Says a lot, that.
Yeah, he is driving the wheels off that Ricciardo McLaren at the moment, isn't he, Jenson Button? It's amazing. But, yeah, no, it just seems that Romain Grosjean hasn't really had the car set up around him all weekend. Doesn't seem to be any differential in terms of equipment.
Got second from 11th last year. Sutil made a mistake, but he managed to get into Q3 as well. And Jenson Button celebrating because he joined him.
That's pretty traditional down there, I have to say, if you're right on the limit of grip down into T10. And Perez locks up into T8. Just as he cranked the steering on, you unload the inside tyre. It's virtually guaranteed at that point, if you're still hard on the brakes, that it'll lock up as the weight transfers across the car. There it was again. So a couple of little flat spots anyway for Sergio Perez. And only P12 on the grid. You do a bit of cadence braking, you can see how quickly they mark up. This is lap of the race.
Yeah.
Nico Rosberg always strong here.
Yep, not exactly on a Saturday, but in a race, you're very much right. 1:32.6 for Alonso, 1/10 of a second better then for Rosberg.
But he was on used tyres, don't we think, when he left the pits?
But, he's not used much of his curves so far on this lap, saving it for the two more straights to come. Third gear corner.
He dropped a gear in the middle of that corner. Really short shift did Mark Webber. So 29.6. It's still 2/10 off the best, but his best first sector. But a very strange drop of a gear in there. Oh no, a bit of a lock up into 8. Wall of death around the outside. Now the thing to do is clear your head and forget about that and not make another mistake into the next corner, which is so easy to do.
So to the second DRS zone and using up an awful lot of KERS as well, Mark Webber, as he does it. Fernando Alonso, meanwhile, just crosses the line, and now Jenson Button just crosses the line to start his final flying lap for McLaren. Towards the end of the middle sector now for Mark Webber. It was a 29.6 for the first sector. He's 4 tenths off the pace, though, through the middle sector. Going quicker, Paul di Resta, couple of tenths up on Webber. Sebastian Vettel only a tenth up on Webber. Still looks like Nico Rosberg's initial time of 1:32.5 is a very competitive target time to go for. Round the final corner we go with Mark Webber. Hasn't set a time yet in qualifying. This is his chance, 4th fastest only.
Yeah, as you say, Rosberg's put a marker down that's going to be tough to get on top of, but Sutil
to dislodge Mercedes from taking back-to-back poles, but he's made a mistake, couple of them through the final turn, and then peels off into the pits. So obviously thinks that
prizes.
Next Christmas has come early.
Interesting.
In the heat of the desert.
Alonso diving in the pits like that means that he did his best. Already then, Alonso's made, that's pretty standard in there. It doesn't help. It was a long time he had to stay on the brake pedal instead of balancing the car up. And then into the final corner, back end will not live with the grip the front's generating. And he realises that that lap is effectively useless, dives in the pits, which commits him to starting the guys. He's looking good. Di Resta, Sutil, Raikkonen, Button. Romain Grosjean disappointed with 11th. Sergio Perez outside of the top 10 again, but closer, you have to say, to Jenson Button this weekend than we've seen in previous races. Ricciardo starts only 13th this year.